If long as stuff works. Here we go. Oh, nice. Nailed it, guys. Wow. Wow. We're in there. So a lot of changes to the map here. I want to see if I can pull up the legend just so you guys can kind of track along with this. Like I mentioned, we're going, the Israel section is actually a little bit shorter than it normally is. There was a lot of geolocatable footage here in the north, and I mean a lot of it, of strikes against Lebanese positions. But we're actually going to be talking a little bit more about Damascus tonight. That does have ties to the Lebanese Hezbollah, though. We'll talk about them when we get there. But it also has ties to Iran. And what would, and best definition, be described as an escalation. We'll see a little bit of, close quarters battle type footage that takes place somewhere here in Gaza. And although there was some footage for us to that we could have potentially gone over, some terrorist attacks on buses, specifically, there was an airstrike in Jenin. It's kind of, just more of the same footage. It wasn't necessarily anything groundbreaking for us to cover, but I think some of the other stuff that I do have tonight is going to, was a little bit better for us to cover, given how much footage I'm going to be trying to go over tonight. But to start, let's get rolling right out of the gate here. We're going to be talking in Gaza about an Israeli airstrike. And I need to pull up Google Maps for this. So stand by. Let me get that pulled back up. It's good to see you. Do me a favor. Do me a solid. Tap the like button. Thank you so much. So first, we're going to be talking about this area right here in Gaza. Most of you should be aware of this and tracking it, but it's not something that we can't not cover. The very first geolocation we're going to talk about is right here inside of Gaza, as well as right here. Come on. These two locations. This is the first two of three locations where Israelis conducted an airstrike on humanitarian workers from the World Central Kitchen. 7 total were killed. That includes 4 employees of the World Central Kitchen and 3 of their UK security detail. Here is a video that shows these first 2 locations and the first 2 vehicles that were hit by Israelis. Now, it's also pertinent to note that one of those 4 World Central Kitchen employees was a U.S. and Canadian citizen. So that was the first vehicle at the first location. This is the second vehicle. People have noted the precision, quote, precision on this. And I kind of want to talk about that for a second because it draws parallels for me in the brain to a similar, abhorrent strike that took place in Kabul not long after 13 Marines and U.S. service members were killed in a suicide blast. That vehicle, not unlike these, was misidentified, whether you describe that as negligence, fog of war, lack of appropriate intelligence. This was a precision strike. But the Israelis came out with this statement. And we're going to see that last vehicle here in just a second because I think it's just a photo. Here is the statement from the Israelis on that.
Employees of the World Central Kitchen were killed. WCK is an organization whose people work across the globe, including in Israel, to do good in difficult conditions. The IDF works together closely with the World Central Kitchen and greatly appreciates the important work that they do. The IDF completed a preliminary debrief. I want to be very clear. The strike was not carried out with the intention of harming WCK aid workers. It was a mistake that followed a misidentification at night during a war in a very complex conditions. It shouldn't have happened. The initial findings were just presented to me here in the Southern Command. I also visited the new Humanitarian Command Center that we established today to improve the way we coordinate
You know what
aid
makes me mad?
distribution
This nigga right
in
here,
Gaza.
they could have fucking,
We will continue taking immediate
they could have
actions
fucking came together as a
to
country
ensure that no
after
gun
that,
is
in like
protecting
finally, in
humanitarian
like
aid
all
goes
like
through.
united against Hamas or whatever.
This
They could have
incident
used that time to
was a
fucking
grave
unite,
mistake.
but instead they got,
Israel
you
is
know what I
at
mean? Instead they
war with
fucking went
Hamas,
straight racist, like looking,
not with the people of Gaza.
like they went straight.
We are
Like I'll
sorry
be arguing with them all the time.
for the
I argue with them all the time. Like I
unintentional
just like
harm
debating
to
them.
the members of
They don't even
WCK.
distinct
This
between like
sharing of
I was
grief
trying to argue about
with
civilians
their
and shit, and
families,
he's like, you're
as
biased.
well
I'm
as
like,
the
yeah, I'm
entire
biased like
World
towards
Central
civilians.
Kitchen
It
organization
didn't even like
from the bottom
connect
of
to him
our
that there were
hearts.
civilians. Like they was just like the same people.
An independent body
That shit was
will
crazy.
investigate the incident thoroughly. We will complete it in the next coming days. We will learn from the conclusions and implement them immediately. We will share in full transparency the findings of the investigation with the World Central Kitchen and other international relevant organizations. We see great importance in the continued delivery of humanitarian aid, and we will keep working to facilitate this vital effort.
All right, let's come back up for a second here.
No,
And I want to
side
show
note
you
by
the
the way.
last
Side note
vehicle.
by the way.
Now,
Um,
I'll show you the last
I don't like being
vehicle
implicated in this shit.
after I show you the
Don't implicate me in
geolocation
shit,
for it,
motherfucker.
which
Why you
is
implicating me in
quite a
shit?
ways away from the other two. I wouldn't, well, quite a ways isn't really, in a relative sense, that far, but it still isn't very close. Now, a lot of people looked at this and said something akin to this was deliberate, this was, precision, there's a logo on the vehicle, how could they have missed the logo? Well, the strikes, because it's 3 at this point, that's not one munition. The strikes were conducted at night. That logo under thermal or under some form of, imagery system that allows you to see at night is not going to be apparent. Israel talked about misidentification. Again, there are a lot of parallels that I see with this strike to the strike in Kabul that killed civilians transporting water. While abhorrent, these are the types of things that happen. That's not a justification for it. Accountability is necessary, and to be honest, and in my opinion, the IDF is taking more accountability for this strike than the United States did after the strike that took place in Kabul. There was a lot less of, in my opinion, a public-facing investigation. Granted, that could come entirely from just a lack of just a lack of information on my part. I don't know what took place behind the scenes. But the accountability that the IDF appears to be taking from this strike feels very much so a bit more than the strike that took place in Kabul. Let's take a look at the last video. This is vehicle number 3 that was hit. Presumably, each one of these vehicles was occupied by, again, a UK security team member. I should have given you a discretion advised. Just reading through the chat here. They're being accountable, so it's okay. It's not okay. Not at all. Let's move, though. Remember way back when I said that wasn't an excuse for it, understanding that these are the type of things, misidentification, that happen in war is ultimately the purpose of this show, right? It's not to sugarcoat it. It's to present it to you. We talked ad nauseum about the strike that took place in Kabul when it happened. And again, this just draws so many parallels for me, both humanitarian type missions and organizations, providing aid, running, in one instance, food, and in another instance, water. in a dynamic type environment like that, when Hamas is hiding in and amongst the populace and moving and supporting and working alongside, in some instances, some of these humanitarian organizations and official organizations like the UN, it's going to be difficult to identify appropriate targets, and misidentification is going to happen. Now, accountability after the fact of those is what matters, and whether or not the IDF is held accountable for that strike, I can't be certain, but it's not something that we can't talk about. Speaking of strikes that were kind of unexpected, let's head over to Syria, because we're about to start talking about Lebanon. Not sure how that works, but pulling that one up now. We're headed here. That specific building. Now, that building is an Iranian consulate inside of Syria, immediately next to the embassy of Iran, and immediately next to what used to be the embassy of Canada. The embassy of Canada shut down quite some time ago. Well, Israel decided to make that building not here anymore. Here is some of that footage coming up for you now. Leap over, I see your comment, and I'll speak to that in a second. I've got another one for you here. This one's coming from our website. Just more aftermath footage of the Iranian consulate. Give you some details here as well. That building's gone. Now, the current international discussion right now is whether or not that building was afforded some of the protections that government buildings, specifically consulates and embassies, are supposed to be provided in any country. Well, 7 IRGC commanders or senior commanders were killed, specifically one of which was Mohammad Reza Zahidi. He's a commander of the Lebanon Corps of the Quds Force. Now, he was originally put into that position by Soleimani himself back in 1998. In 2000, he then moved on to other positions, but then in 2008, he was put back into that position. So you can begin to start drawing some correlation to the reasons that the IDF would have taken this strike, because the Lebanese Hezbollah has been targeting Israel regularly from the north. The Quds Force being that organization from Iran that is specifically designated to arm and train proxy forces in the Middle East. That is effectively what has been compared, or I guess comparison is the right word, compared to a hybrid of like JSOC and the CIA for Iran. This is the kind of stuff that Israel is doing inside of Lebanon right now, continuing to conduct airstrikes against Lebanese Hezbollah positions in response to that. But the Lebanese commander of the Quds Force was assassinated in that strike. Here's some footage. Coming back up. So there was a comment in the chat that I kind of wanted to speak to. There's information, at least, from both the World Central Kitchen and from the IDF, that the WCK was communicating and coordinating directly with the IDF. While I can't speak to how that information flow went, I can speak to how it goes on our side, right? Because we have had to communicate with humanitarian and partner forces. And I can tell you more often than not that the left hand does not talk to the right hand. The specific brigade that conducted this strike on the World Central Kitchen vehicles was the Nahal Brigade. How exactly information was flowing between them, I can't be certain, right? But it has been acknowledged that it has. Most people are bringing that up in the context that it was a deliberate and intentional strike on humanitarian aid workers. I just disagree with that based on the context of what that coordination normally looks like. I don't want to dive too far down into that because, again, we're really here just to show you the footage, provide the context of the location, maybe what we can from the situation surrounding it, and ultimately, come to your own conclusions on it. But if you were to ask me specifically, it is a tragic loss of life that could have been avoided with better communications channels, of which the IDF has said specifically that they're standing up. More specifically, a humanitarian command center where they're kind of streamlining how they're doing that communication. At some point, there was a breakdown in that communication flow. Exactly how that happened, I can't be certain. But let's move on to some footage inside Gaza. Discretion advised on this. We're going to be seeing some close quarters battle stuff. This is the IDF's 401st Division as they're making their way through a building somewhere in Gaza. I don't know exactly where they're operating in Gaza, but they do end up initiating contact very close with Hamas. Discretion advised, war happens in this. Turning it up for you. All right, let's come back. I saw a comment. I like to. The reason we do this is to communicate with you. I hear all the time, don't feed the trolls. Where this isn't a trolly comment, but that kind of addresses that. But I saw a comment I kind of want to talk about with the discretion advised. The reason I do that is throughout the stream, throughout the night, new people will join, and sometimes there's going to be people that join the stream, the show, whatever you want to call it, that might not be familiar with what we do. So. When we come up on a video where, quite clearly somebody is about to be killed, which is, one of the things that happens in war, I will typically provide a discretion advised. Now, again, sometimes I forget to do that, and I apologize way ahead of time for it. Anyway, let's move on because we're about to watch one more, possible discretion advised here. Depends really on how you look at it. A Hamas fighter was tracked. Put my headphones on backwards. That sounds weird. A Hamas fighter was tracked all the way to his tunnel. As he goes and enters that tunnel, he's probably not leaving it anytime soon. You can actually see the munition if you slow it down a little bit. Perfect. No, that's not going to be good. So we will spin this down to about quarter speed here. It's going to enter from the bottom right, and it is very accurate. All right, let's bring it back up. Now, again, for a lot of this footage, I don't have great geolocations for it, so that video was presumed somewhere inside of Gaza. Exactly where, I can't be certain. And the same thing applies here. Once again, we're going to be seeing some very close quarters battle. I wouldn't say that there's any real discretion advised needed for this one. We don't really see anything outside of the exchange of gunfire. The whole point of showing you this is to show the chaos and why sometimes it's better to just drop a JDAM on it. Maybe 40 millimeter through a window or something. Yeah, here you go. Pass, dog.
כן, יש פה כוסות, אחי.
עזוב כוס, יש פה חתול על הספה, חצי מעולפת. בואו ניקח.
Nope. Let's bring it up. I've got an interesting one from Hamas here. We're actually going to be we're going to see Hamas, and for a split second, we're going to see the only reason I wanted to show this to you. Because we have another window rocket drill from Hamas using a tandem warhead RPG, but there is a split frame where things start to get a little bit interesting. We're going to see a Chinese Type 80 machine gun being used. Here's some footage. China. There's that tandem warhead RPG. I'm going to try and pause it. Now, to me, it almost looked like a PK, but, you know, smarter small arms folks than I identified it as a Chinese Type 80. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. Let's see if I can find it again. I thought it looked very much like a PK. Here we are. My first thought was a PK. Yeah. Yep, I will pull this up here. Dorito floating about. PKP. Barrel handle is wrong for what, a PK? Now, note the non-disintegrating belt. You know, I haven't. I actually just shot a PK like last week, and this does, you know, scream out at me as PK. That being said, I've been told that there are similarities. I don't know the Type 80 very well, but you know, those that are smarter than I on foreign machine guns suggested that it could very well be a Type 80. All right, let's bring it back up, because that's everything that I had for Israel for you tonight. We're going to jump quickly into a Sudan McDonald's. Type 80 is just a Chinese PKM. Oh, well, that makes sense then. How long before people start pulling out the tactical McDonald's shirts? The shirt's kind of drippy. I like it. Boom. It's a machine gun. All right, let's bring it up. We're going to make one pit stop in Myanmar and then another in Pakistan. War everywhere all at once before we get to some of the Ukraine footage that I have. These are government forces, so not the anti-junta, but members of the authoritarian military regime that took power back in, what was that, 2021, when the girl was doing the TikTok dance and the whole thing was going on right behind her and she didn't even know it. Anyway, some high-angle mortar fire happening here. Here you are. These are government forces engaging anti-junta forces. All right. Let's bring it up. Ronnie, I'd love to see an interview with a GeoOp vet next. Boy, do I have a surprise for you. We actually have the literal Terminator coming on board for the next episode of the podcast, which should be getting recorded not next week, but the week after. Given time management, having to really space those out right now, hoping to make them a little bit more densely packed as time goes along. I'll give you a hot tip. He's got 3 Purple Hearts, a Silver Star, Sergeant Major. Looking forward to having him in here on the podcast. Let's stop in Pakistan to see some Baluchi machine gun stuff versus Pakistan. Fun fact, it's this kind of footage that got us banned in Pakistan. Here you go. Discretion advised. Wow. Let's talk about what you're looking at here. You are seeing through the perspective of Baluchi militants firing on a Pakistani military convoy. Here you go. Discretion advised. Wow. Let's talk about what you're looking at here. You are seeing through the perspective of Baluchi militants firing on a Pakistani military convoy. Does anybody know what he's saying? I have no idea when this happened, but we just posted it a couple, like a day ago. And I thought it's actually some interesting footage if you look at it from like an enfilade perspective here. There's a machine, we're seeing a machine gun, and, a lot of these guys kind of keep rolling. That was my millennial joke. Anyway, he said, wow. Stop it. Reading through the chat here, and I need to stop to pause and say thank you very much to Steve for the $5. If it's an accident, war is bad. If it's intentional, war is bad. Traveling through a war zone is also bad. Yes. Yeah, all of those things. Correct. And I think that's mostly in the context of the World Central Kitchen strike. It's all bad. Yeah, we should avoid that when at all possible. We're going to be moving into actually intermission. Somebody brought up the Texas border. I got an interesting one for you here. Well, I've got a couple back-to-back interesting ones. But first, at the Texas border, we're going to see Border Patrol arresting a Texas National Guardsman who was caught smuggling an illegal across the border. That's weird. Woof. He's going to yank him out. I don't know who this guy is, but I'm surprised he's not carrying a wheel gun. This is like a semi-automatic. Here. Now, just to give you some context, to better understand kind of what led to this situation. Supposedly, CBP had set up some form of an ad hoc traffic control point. Effectively, something that they do pretty regularly to try and catch any illegals that slip through. They noticed this SUV kind of, flipping a B and beelining out of there, and a chase ensued. That's when they eventually caught up to them, and this is what happened afterwards.
27 now. 436 for now.
You know what? He's probably got a 1911 or something. Like a Kimber, combat custom. It's got night sights on it. In a leather holster.
Hey guys, if anybody ever watches this in the future or the past, or if this doesn't get banned, this could get banned. You wanna hear a crazy story? So I had this fucking XDM competition model,
Come here, you.
what was it? It was a XDM competition. It was like 5.75 inch barrel. It was fucking stupid big. It was like a fucking future cop gun or some shit. It was like fucking RoboCop gun. It was fucking humongous. It had like laser type sights on it, like laser, but like the green fluorescent you know what I'm talking about? It's like built for like competition so people can shoot fast. Anyways, it had like 20 rounds. It's fucking stupid. They had to cut like a piece of metal. They had to cut the top of it off to get the barrel to chamber because it was so heavy. Anyways, so that's the gun I had right now. I just happened to have it in my hand. I just happened to have it in my hand. I was Liz actually. I was talking to Liz. Her man at the time was like, "I'm gonna go kill that nigga right now." Blah 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 blah. Talking mad shit. I'm like, all right, bet. So I went and grabbed my gun. I just grabbed my gun. I went upstairs to tell my pops, I'm like, "Yo, if somebody, be careful, if somebody around here, beware and shit, And
now, supposedly, this National Guardsman was taking payment
through my window.
of some
He's
kind.
I
didn't dive too far down
no
into that.
uniform, nothing.
I'll give you the link to the article.
I'm
that
like,
the team
so
put together
I
over
just
on
happened
the
to have the
website.
fucking gun in
If
my
you'd like
hand.
to jump into
So I
it.
raised it at him. You know what I'm saying? It was the worst timing in the world. Like, it could not have been worse timing. And and he fucking pulled this gun out so fucking fast. Like, he was practices that shit. Like, this nigga pulled it so fast. And I was like, oh shit. So we both fell back or whatever. And Dad, meanwhile, was just sitting there cooking pork chops. He never fucking moves. He's sitting there cooking pork chops. He finishes cooking pork chops and everything, and so I'm like, oh shit. So I'm like, so I end up, I'm like, I thought I saw a badge like at the corner, like right at the very end. I wasn't sure though, cause I saw it glint off the
You
thing.
be quiet, Buck.
So fucking yeah. So I called 911. I'm like, yo, what up? You know, I'm like, is that the cops out there? And he's like, yeah, the cops are out there. I'm like, oh shit, for real? And he's like, yeah. So I was like, I walked out there, and, you know, and like immediately they were like, yo, let me see the gun. I wonder if he like said something crazy on the radio, like, you got a fucking RoboCop gun or fucking this fucking humongous. I don't know what he said, but they wanted to see my gun immediately. And they were all like passing around like thinking it was cool and shit.
All right, I'm gonna move on from this one, but that's kind of your intermission of the day. The footage from the border is something that we're trying to cover a little bit more of. So over time you might see us with a little
he was
bit more
actually
video
here
from down that
looking
way.
for a girl my
Something
dad
to
was
keep in
fucking.
mind is we're still very much resource
Wasn't even-
constrained.
yeah,
We're
nothing to do with
still
me.
just 4 writing team members plus me and plus Funker. I manage other admin tasks. Funker manages the back end of the website, and then you've got the 4 writers. So trying to cover the amount of wars that we have going on right now, along with the crisis on the southern border, and a lot of other topics, it's a little bit of a handful at the moment. But you should start to see a little bit more footage on the website and the app. Download the app, ! App in the chat, here in the near future. Let's move on to some footage from Ukraine. So I've got an interesting one for you guys here. I'm going to go pull it from our Twitter because I didn't put it in the stream description. But I want to give you an update on an individual. This individual specifically, we talked about quite a few weeks back. A U.S. Air Guardsman, is that the right? The Air National Guard, a former U.S. Air National Guards person, I don't know, flying the U.S. flag in Avdiivka on Russia's behalf. I'm going to refresh your memory here and show you that old video that we've already covered.
Plant the U.S. flag as a sign of friendship and support for all the things that people are enduring here, and it's a small token of a small task that we can do to show our support. I mean, we have to end this. I mean, you look around Avdiivka and you see what's happening.
He's one of the smart ones, Jose? Okay. Interesting. Stand by.
Homes. We need to support Russia. We have to have friendship. We have to make sure that all the goals laid out are fulfilled. And we just have to stop this, and we have to do everything we can to help. And, here's Old Glory, the U.S. flag. And I hope that people back home see it. I hope people understand. And look at independent facts, right? Do your own research, do your own homework. Find out what's really going on here. We have to support these people. We have to help them. We have to stop this. I feel proud. I feel proud to be here. I've met amazing people. I'm standing with amazing people that have done a lot for this and to help people. And that's what it's about. That's why I'm here. That's what I want to do. And these guys that I'm here with, I mean, these guys are incredible people. My hat's off to them. What they do on a daily basis is just unbelievable. It's incredible. And to people back home that are in the military and that have been to war, I'm a veteran from Afghanistan. The people that have been through this, they understand it. And we haven't seen anything like this, even in Afghanistan. This is something, I mean, the entire city is rubble. This is unbelievable. And in Afghanistan, I was in the Air Force for 10 years. In Afghanistan, I've never seen anything like this. This is unbelievable. The work that's being done here, it's just incredible. We have to help these guys.
Okay, let's pause. Let's talk about this guy for a second.
First, let's enable the air-to-ground master mode. Note that it's not necessary for setting up or manipulating the packs, but since this session's all about air-to-ground, let's make it a good habit. extensively used when planning and performing air-to-ground missions. First, let's enable the air-to-ground master mode. Note that it's not necessary for setting up or manipulating the packs, but since this session's all about air-to-ground, let's make it a good habit. Extensively used when planning and performing air-to-ground missions. First, let's enable the air-to-ground master mode. Note that it's not necessary for setting up or manipulating the packs, but since this session's all about air-to-ground, let's make it a good habit. Extensively used when planning and performing air-to-ground missions.
You're smoking.
Eternity, motherfucker. I'm just trying to help you.
I'm sorry, but I don't need your help.
Yes, you do, motherfucker. You do need my help, sir. Can't you see that, you son of a bitch?
Could you please just let me check out my groceries?
Fuck you, I'm trying to help you, motherfucker.
Wow, this is...
You gotta ask Jesus Christ.
I
We're all
don't have
sinners.
to do anything.
We're all sinners.
Okay.
He's not gonna force you to do it.
You're sinning right now.
No, I'm not, motherfucker. You fucking accuser. Get the fuck out of here, you fucking accuser. You motherfucking accuser. Get the fuck out of here.
Wow.
You motherfucking accuser. Accuser of the fucking brethren, you motherfucker.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask you what's going on?
I'm pissed because he won't repent.
Okay.
I just want to get some groceries and go home.
Thank you. Okay, so because his religious views don't match yours, you're mad at
I
him?
don't give a fuck because it's gonna burn in hell.
Okay. Good morning.
And you are too, bitch. If you don't have Jesus Christ as your savior, you're gonna be down there fucking with them, screaming in holy fucking terror of fucking fire and brimstone. Do you fucking get it?
Yeah, totally understand. But I can't have you yelling and spewing profanities.
Eternity, motherfucker. I'm
Really?
just trying to help you.
I'm sorry, but I don't need your help.
Yes, you do, motherfucker. You do need my help, sir. Can't you see that, you son of a bitch?
Could you please just let me check out my groceries?
Fuck you, I'm trying to help you, motherfucker.
Wow, this is...
You gotta ask Jesus Christ.
I
We're all
don't have
sinners.
to do anything.
We're all sinners.
Okay.
He's not gonna force you to do it.
You're sinning right now.
No, I'm not, motherfucker. You fucking accuser. Get the fuck out of here, you fucking accuser. You motherfucking accuser. Get the fuck out of